You start seeing the patterns, the mechanisms, the invisible adjustments that make the social interactions work. You feel estranged. You're around people in a social gathering, listening to people talk, but it's like you're watching from the outside. You notice the falseness because you understood that everyone is playing a role, and you realize you were playing one too. This sharp perception is liberating and confining at the same time. Once you see, there's no going back to that state of innocence where you participated in things without analyzing, where you simply were without asking yourself if you were being authentic or just convenient. You hid behind excuses, social rules, and external expectations, so you don't have to take full responsibility for your own existence. In social groups, everyone agrees not to question certain truths, not to provoke others that could destabilize the structure. For example, something may not make sense, but nobody speaks up, or you can't touch on certain topics because there's a silent agreement that certain things are better left as they are. When you start seeing, when you identify dishonesty or misleading or hidden things around you, you become a dangerous element. For example, when something isn't going to work and nobody says anything, and you see people agreeing, suggesting improvements for something that is doomed to fail, and you realize it's choice, everyone chose not to see so they wouldn't have to act. When you no longer buy into this, when you're there knowing and seeing, your mere presence already destabilizes. You don't even need to open your mouth. People sense there's something different about you, something that doesn't fit the script anymore. When one person wakes up and stops pretending even silently, the entire structure is threatened, and others react with subtle pressure or with direct exclusion. Maintaining shared beliefs is seen as more important than welcoming an individual's truth. Belonging means being two-faced. You can't enter a group being completely yourself. At work you use one version, with family another, with friends from childhood you resurrect yourself who, maybe, doesn't even exist anymore. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny, pretend interest in conversations that bore you, moderate opinions to avoid discomfort. They're small falsehoods that accumulate. When you don't fit, you cause discomfort. People don't know how to relate to you, can't predict how you'll react, and being authentic is permanent, a daily struggle against conformity. When you start seeing too much, your relationships drastically decrease in quantity but potentially increase in quality. You can't stand superficial relationships anymore. You can no longer maintain relationships based only on geographic proximity or shared history. You need connections based on mutual transparency, where you can be who you are without fear of judgment or rejection. And these connections are rare, very rare. You can go years without meeting anyone who's willing or capable of relating on this level. So your relationships keep shrinking, Many acquaintances become former acquaintances. Many friends become people you run into by chance and exchange some polite phrases with before moving on. You're left with very few people or sometimes with nobody, but the ones who stay are real. There's no false optimism. You can disagree without meaning the end of a relationship, but those people rarely see you and chooses to stay. These few relationships are worth more than many superficial friendships, but they require emotional maturity from both sides, that the other person has also awakened or partly awakened. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You can't have a deep relationship with someone who's still completely asleep, completely immersed in unconscious behaviors. Many people will pass through your life without ever really knowing you. It's the price, and not everyone wants or can pay it. Strong perception has an emotional cost that sometimes seems too high. You look at people on autopilot and envy their ease, the way they move through social environments without internal conflict, without this constant weight of having to choose between authenticity and belonging. You question yourself if you should have just left things as they were, if authenticity and loneliness are worth it. This questioning is valid. To honestly look at the price you're paying and ask if it's worth it. Otherwise, you'll not be truly authentic. Don't turn withdrawal into spiritual or intellectual superiority. You seeing too much doesn't make you better than anyone. They are just different choices. Some people choose the security of belonging, and it's okay for them. Others choose the integrity of solitude and are at peace with the isolation this brings. There are people in between, paying a more distributed price. They are both just different responses to the same existential problem. You'll feel sad at the growing distance between you and the people you love. Sad at realizing certain relationships only worked because you were willing to betray yourself. And now that you're not willing anymore, the relationship doesn't exist anymore. It's a natural consequence of a different chance and a different choice. Just look at the people you left behind as that you're on a different path now. Be humble and recognize that you don't have definitive answers, that your way of living is not the only one, that you're just doing the best you can. Create your own path, choose your own values. Total responsibility is that you can't blame anyone, can't hide behind external circumstances. You choose, and you will keep choosing.